they are trying to build products. We can see that. So with Anthropic, especially Cloud Code, fantastic success. Asterisk revenue, we don't know. Right. But if we are to give them a benefit of the doubt, it's a fantastic success even on the revenue side. Cowork, different product. Again, a lot of people using it.
Mhm.
Mythos becomes a product in itself. They are trying to encourage that product thinking that we are not just a chatbot. We are not just a text box. We are now rising up the value chain. And every time one new product comes up, there's talk of 1,000 rapper AI companies dying on top of them.
Yeah.
That Anthropic is muscling into their territory and going up the value chain. Enterprise B2B SaaS is priced on a per employee basis. I'm a 500-person company. I want to give everyone a Claude Max subscription. Okay, I multiply X by Y. But if I'm also selling Mythos as a bug testing, vulnerability testing software, I can charge another $1,000 for that. If I'm also selling Cowork separately or Cloud Code separately, I can charge on top for that. AI has made it simpler, and Anthropic does iterate really fast, incredibly fast. Hello and welcome back to Hype Cycles, where Nitesh and I discuss tech news, business news, what has been setting the world on fire. Not literally, hopefully. That would be a geopolitics podcast. We don't do geopolitics. Except for Nitesh's beard. I see that the Strait of Hormuz is still not open, Nitesh.
I will require double confirmation, which is a higher standard than most media these days. So
Don't you like chop your beard and bring it back, and chop your beard and bring it back like every 15 minutes? Or Sunday evenings. And then again, just before Monday morning, US stock markets open, beard time again. No? Beard cutting?
I consider it. I'm going to take the more pragmatic approach of keeping it until we have confirmation that the strait is in fact open.
So that is the end of our geopolitics. Back to business, back to tech. Nitesh, what's been going on?
Have this amazing new product, and it's just path breaking, but it's so powerful that it's scary. And I want to give it to you to allow you to use it, to allow you the privilege of paying me to use the product. But it's just too powerful for you, Vinny. So I'm not going to allow you access to it.
Oh my
Have
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Nitesh, here's $30 billion.
yeah,
It's, I
it
don't get these guys. All their products are too dangerous to be released, and they will lead to AGI, but still and they will cause massive job loss.
of course. Yeah.
But still, we must keep doing it. So give us the money to do it so that somebody else doesn't do it first. If it is so terrible, then what is the point of doing it first?
Classic arms race. No? You want to get there before them. I don't know who them is here, but
I saw Oppenheimer and it was a great movie centering the man who created a bomb that killed thousands and thousands of people. But oh my God, he felt so sad. But yeah, there is the nuance, right? Otherwise, somebody else might have done it first.
and we got a great sex scene out of it. So I don't know what you're complaining about.
I saw it in an Indian hall.
No comment that because there's some pretty heavy stuff going on in the background of the scene, but I don't remember what it was because I saw it in Indian Hall as well.
Yeah.
But before you get to the thing that I set you up for, I just want to say that for at least 15, 20 years now, we've been hearing about universal basic income, right? That technology is going to get so advanced. Now that technology is being replaced by AI in these doomsday prophecies, but technology is going to get so advanced that we won't need to work anymore. But we're still in a capitalist setup. And so the only way out is for governments to use the derogatory term, give out dole, just pay people for existing like they do in some countries. And yeah, that's the premise of universal basic income, right? I have heard or read from like multiple sources the idea being floated that what we require is not that people get paid for their roz ka kharcha, but instead that so much of the value that's going to be created now is not going to go to the aam janta, so to speak, the population, but to corporations. And so the way to get them to participate is to have every citizen, every person living in whichever country this is being floated in, be given uh, index ETFs every month, as a way of getting everybody to participate in what is going to be the inevitable movement of capital from people to corporations in a much more accelerated form than it does now. Because right now those corporations still employ people and therefore they pay them, and there are a lot more employees than there are stockholders, right, of all these corporations. And the idea that I'm seeing being floated from multiple different media houses, publications, Substacks, is that we need to have. There's a pithy acronym for it, but it escapes me at the moment. That we need to make sure that everybody participates in the inevitable flip that's going to happen, and that's going to probably be brought in imminently by AI. And I couldn't help but think they're talking about SIPs. We're already doing that. You know. We're like uh, mm, it's practically religion at this point. Okay, mutual fund karo, SIP karo.
The
Yeah,
original hashtag,
yeah,
mutual fund sahi hai.
yeah.
Hashtag please read the offer document carefully before investing.
Not bad, man. You match the cadence as well. Very nice. Please tell me you've had a career as a radio host as well, or an
Have you heard me?
ad voiceover तो किया ही होगा.
एड वॉइस ओवर करें
हाँ.
एक आध अपने अपने बिजनेस के लिए ही लास्ट मिनट ये लाइन चेंज करना है हु इज द ओनली पर्सन इन द कंपनी विद अ प्रोफेशनल माइक
With the functional mic. I was just going to say who has a functional
दैट इज माय वैल्यू एड माय क्रिएटिव टैलेंट कम्स फ्रॉम द फैक्ट दैट आई स्पेंड 7500 रुपीस ऑन अ माइक
mic. Nice. So what do you bring to the table is okay, good enough. I've heard worse answers to that question.
एटलीस्ट आई एम ऑनेस्ट
I'm packing some heavy or mid-range hardware. Good, good,
दैट्स माय
good.
लिंक्डइन बायो पैकिंग सम नाइस मिड रेंज हार्डवेयर
Not your Tinder bio. It is right there.
या डेटिंग ऐप से हूं नहीं मैं 3 साल से सो देयरफॉर नाउ लिंक्डइन इज वेयर आई शिट पोस्ट एंड लिंक्डइन इज वेयर आई नाउ पुट माय प्रोफाइल अप लाइक पैकिंग strong mid-range hardware.
Nice. So
So many thoughts on this topic, by the way. When you're done, I will start off. So many thoughts.
just that in closing, that we've reached a point where we are so utterly lacking in imagination that that is the solution that we come up with. ये तो होना ही है. We are all going to be out of jobs, and all the money is going to go to corporations, and the only way to keep us riding the gravy train, because that's what this would be, right, is for us to become stockholders. That's our inevitable fate. We are all just going to be stockholders. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up in this nice sunny Sunday afternoon.
Lovely thought. No, so first thought on that one. So when Sam Altman said this out, I think Sam Altman himself had said it, right? That
Mhm.
public stock ownership of whatever is the shared wealth.
Yeah.
He said it earlier this week. And one interesting tweet reaction was ki one cocktail thrown at his house, uh, and our man suddenly becomes a communist, which is an interesting thought.
Nice. Yeah.
The second is I won't get into the mutual fund aspect for now, but I, and people have been saying this for so many years, right? Ki AI will take over everything,
Hmm.
and AI wealth is concentrated in very few companies. People won't have jobs,
Right.
right? If you believe Dario Amadoi making this prediction every few months, he's like doomsday predictor every few months, and he's the one doing it, right? So it's amazing. I don't know what his PR strategy is here, but anyhow. So a few people will control all the wealth. This is not a future that they are saying where 1% control everything, everyone is working like slaves. This is a future where nobody has to work anymore. We'll all be living by our own private lake or whatever. पैसा कहाँ से आएगा उन लोगों के पास? Capitalism तो है ही. So therefore the solution is UBI. Thoughts on that? One is this is abundance chomus at work. Absolutely. Right. Everyone will have everything. कहाँ से आएगा वो? There are those 10 steps in the middle nobody is talking about. How will we get to a stage where people have no jobs? Capitalism requires working for money,
Mhm.
right? Hard work in return for money, merit, blah, 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 all that chit chat, right? So people are not working anymore. They don't have jobs anymore because all the jobs are being done by robots and bots. So how are these people earning money?
They did that briefly during the pandemic, and
They gave like two whatever of $1,200 each.
yeah, and even that caused so much inflation.
Exactly. Inflation or not, that caused so much consternation amongst rich people. कि देखो हमारा tax money.
Yeah, of
Also, rich people are famously not in favor of paying taxes.
course. Yeah.
The other parallel thinking, common wisdom, common parlance, whatever, is key. If you increase the tax rate on rich people by even 0.000001%, they will all leave for somewhere else. So where is this UBI money coming from? $1,000 is not going, a month is not going to sustain the economy, even if you give it to those 200 million people,
Hmm.
right? That is $200 billion a month that
Yeah.
we're talking about of excess of everything that the government is spending. And $1,000 is nothing. You need massive deflation for $1,000 to work, and that's a different problem altogether. So if you're planning on giving $5,000 a month to everyone, when rich people who don't like paying taxes at all are the ones hoarding all the money, where is this money coming from for this UBI? The next topic is, okay, let's say the rich people are the ones doing all the production. They own all the means of production and they are sharing the wealth. You've invented communism,
Or at least socialism.
at least extreme socialism.
Yeah.
Right. Even, and by the way, no, by the way, if you are giving, now let's get into the mutual funds. If you're giving shared ownership to everyone in the country, now
Mhm.
you've invented communism.
Yeah.
So therefore, and yeah, abundance to moves who cannot explain any step in between, but we will have everything thanks to AI. Everyone will have everything. Plenty more thoughts where that came from, but it is such a fuck all, brainless plot point given by these rich, whatever hoarders of wealth. हमें करने दो, give us all the money to do our AI and nobody will have jobs and everyone will be rich. How? We're not going to tell you. I think I'm done with my rant for now.
We can get to mythos. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Mythos, mythos, mythology, mythology, but mythos, I think.
Yeah, I've only ever read the term. I haven't heard it anyway yet.
I went into a rant after a long time, no? I
Yeah,
haven't done these rants in a while.
the rants aren't flowing as smoothly. Either you're out of touch, you're out of practice.
The rant must flow.
Yeah. One last thing before
Hmm.
we get to Project Glasswing. Uh, Not particularly relevant to what we're talking about, but just something that came up.
Hmm.
Uh, Here in Bangalore and in Karnataka, I guess, bus rides are free for women. This is a relatively recent thing. I know Delhi's had it for a while, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and they recently became free for women here for like a year, 2 years back. And just the amount of outrage that causes, not among rich people, I'm talking about middle class people, many of whom don't even pay taxes because they're under that slab,
Hmm.
and certainly many who do, uh, all have the objection of, uh, you know, this is our tax money being, ah, you know what, I don't have anything clever to say on that.
We'll get into politics because there's
Just
no way to
Yeah, exactly.
quit it
And
off.
it pisses me off so much. When the kind of, you can cut this out, the kind of shit I've heard that because bus rides are free, women are just going to be loafing all day because
And,
it's
and
free.
now this is when people decide to talk about moral hazards, right? Ki this
Huh.
will become a
And
moral hazard. It'll kill those bechara bike taxi guys who exist because the state is not providing adequate public transport services, right?
the whole thing costs 250 crores a year, right? The roads in all four directions from my house in each direction for a kilometer cost more than that in a year.
The
At least that's
Bandra
the amount of
Worli
money
Sea
we waste.
Link is used by some 50 to 60,000 people a day. That is it.
Yeah,
Built for like thousands of crores.
I don't know, man. It just makes me so angry. Like, after education, if there is something that you can do with very little and cause such an outsized multiplier effect, it is this. Give women mobility,
Anything you do for poor people has an outsized multiplier effect.
and disproportionately when it's
Yes.
women. Vineet. It
Yes.
just, fuck, I wish we were better educated. I know this that sounds like a classist and a very out of touch thing to say, but it's so fucking
No,
obvious.
but it's not an education thing at all. Rich people say this all the time. And rich people in India would rather have a 20,000 crore grant or contract going to Starlink, to
Mhm.
Elon Musk, rather than poor people getting 20 crores. So this is not an education thing at all. It is just capitalism, baby. Priorities. And it's all reverse calculated. It is all reverse calculated ki capitalism rewards hard workers. Therefore, anyone who is rich must have worked hard.
Yeah.
And anyone who is poor must not have worked hard. That is how merit works. So, yeah, so anyone who is rich deserves more of government money because he will obviously do better with that government money for providing us with services. And anything given to poor people, oh, they will just. And this is a classic international trope, right? The welfare queen.
Yeah.
That poor people just want to have babies just so that, just to get government dole. It's a,
Live off the government state.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing uniquely Indian about this, nothing uniquely related to education about this. It's the same everywhere. It's capitalism at work.
This is way off. Anyways, Glasswing, this amazing product that exists, but none of us have access to.
So I will read out a Y Combinator post from 2019.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, no, not Y Combinator, from Hacker News.
I can use, yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah.
It says OpenAI says its new model GPT-2 is too dangerous to release. And we've been there before also, 2023. They delayed GPT-4 by 6 months for safety research,
Yeah.
all kinds of threats. What threats have we actually withheld because of AI is leading the whole internet into spam shit, which was very easy to predict. I used to get like 3 or 4 cold emails a day. Now I get like 30 and they're all bloody full of M dashes.
And it's
Form of,
not this, it's that.
it's not this, it's that. An M dash, which if I do a survey, 10 out of 10 people will not be able to. They'll do the minus sign. Minus sign hi hoga. Right. So yeah, but everyone is using M dashes.
So my question is, what's the end game? Like, just for the uninitiated in our audience, Anthropic said we have this new model for cloud, and it is so powerful that it can find multiple zero-day vulnerabilities in pretty much the like 2 generation old software platforms that were used to build what is still the banking ecosystem. The entire banking infrastructure still relies on that 2 generation old programming language. And apparently, the new model is so good that it can find multiple zero-day vulnerabilities just like that. A zero-day vulnerability is uh, a, a backdoor that hasn't been publicized yet, that hasn't been plugged yet, and that could give a malicious actor unfettered access to like some of our most crucial shared infrastructure, digital infrastructure. So this was alarming enough that the Fed chair and the Treasury Secretary called a hurried meeting of basically all the banks and said, you need to address this right now. All our systems are vulnerable. That is not routine. That doesn't happen. The Of course, the Treasury Secretary and the chairman of the Fed calling a joint meeting itself, it like rings so many alarm bells. But even apart from that, just bringing a bunch of bankers into a room in an emergency meeting, I can think of maybe 3 or 4 instances when that has happened, including the GFC, 1929, which is actually my story for today, and 1908, which I was also going to reference, where all the bankers came together, and it was usually one step before imminent collapse. of the system. So for these guys, like, at least the Treasury Secretary is a political being, right? The chairman of the Fed, it's he's done. He's a lame duck now, and he's leaving. Like, he has no incentive to be alarmist. So that it really stood out to me. I mean, I'm
But what
hoping.
choice do they have? It is not like they know something, right? It is not like Sundar Pichai, or let's say Sundar Pichai and Dario and Sam called up the chairman of the Fed and said,
Mhm.
look, this is what is happening. And here is a full flowchart of information of precisely how which banking app faces what danger. Even if they'd done that, we still don't know. The man
Right,
has no choice but to raise a red flag, because the most powerful companies in the world are saying, look, things are in trouble. He has to react. It doesn't
right,
actually mean anything. He just didn't have a choice.
right. So I can understand why J. Pao or Paulson reacted, the Treasury Secretary, sorry, reacted the way they did. What is the incentive for the tech companies here? Just more publicity, getting more people on board. What is this fear mongering leading to? Like, what's their incentive here?
Which is how I started. Like, my first comment about Dario was, why does he every 3 months he does an interview where he says, look, 50% of entry level jobs are going to go in a year. And he's been saying that for 3 years now.
Mhm.
Right. Okay, sure. A lot are going, but again, why is he saying this? But a lot are going just because also
Because
many
he's saying
reasons,
it.
right? Sorry.
A lot of the jobs are going because he's saying it, so it becomes sort of self-fulfilling, right?
And AI is a good out for companies who want to downsize. And
Yeah.
downsizing is always rewarding for a company in the short run.
Right. And from the company's perspective, I'm talking about not necessarily blue chips or maybe even blue chips, but non-tech companies. None of the executives or the CEOs are going to get fired or face any serious reprimand if they turn out to be wrong about AI.
Yeah.
Like, whereas if the AI thing has even a 1% chance of being as um life changing as Dario believes it is, then the board would want the company to go all in on that. Because worst case, in 2 years, they realize that even their customer reps, the department that they laid off and handed over entirely to a chatbot, yeah, they need to bring them back. Like,
Hmm.
that's okay, right? There's going to be 1 or 2 quarters of muted performance or whatever, because these things take a long time to show in the numbers of for a consumer company, at least, that customer support has gone off a cliff, and it really sucks out of inertia, out of people not realizing yet. At least 3 4 quarters sales are going to be flat until they finally plunge, and people realize that this product just isn't working, or we're not getting the support we're paying for. And at that time, the CEOs can just bring back the customer service department, and there'll be a learning curve then, but chalega. So that's what's leading to adoption. It's not that the technology itself is proving to be so amazing. Maybe it is, but not to the extent that the companies are leaning into it. Is my belief here.
They no, it's like they can't. So one incentive is absolutely valuation hype, right? They can't afford to let the attention be diverted from them even for a day.
Mhm.
Anything that's flagging, 4.6 has been getting a lot of flag, 4.7 has been getting a lot of flag. I haven't been able to do any Claude since morning. Like, they've introduced this Claude design thingy. I thought I'd try it out, upload my. I'm like, okay, why don't you evaluate my pitch deck?
Mhm.
Right. And answered a few questions and uploaded my pitch deck. And it just, while uploading, says, oh, one of these images is above 2000 px. Please change before uploading again, and stopped. I have no idea what in my pitch deck is throwing it off. And oh, by the way, it's used 48% of my current session limit. Doing nothing.
Are you still on the $20 a month plan?
I am still on my $20 a month plan.
There's your
But
problem.
again, if the $20 a month plan dies, then the $100 a month plan dies, then the $200 plan dies. It comes back, is there a consumer use case for this or not? Consumers are not going to be throwing $100 at the problem.
No, but
$20 is still,
the thing you just, the use case that you just specified is not a consumer use case. That's the
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Sick B2B use case, right?
But would I pay $100 for it? No. $100 a month. See, again, is it solving enough of my problems transparently? And I know what is going into it. But
Mm-hmm.
this credit and token problem is common across the internet right now in any AI tool. So transparency is very important. No, so one, I want to close that thing that there is no consumer use case yet, which I've been talking about, like rattling on for a year now. And the hardware side, there is no consumer use case.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I'm going to come back to that on a different topic today. But on the software side, there is no consumer use case yet. And $10 to $20 is where, okay, help me write this email, help me write this, help me do that, help me answer my few queries. $10, sure. $20, pushing it. $100, hell no. And this was one PDF file I asked it to analyze. On the consumer side, if this happens, that every time you run out of tokens, you're less likely to come back to that tool and you're more likely to forget about it. And then just $20, $10, sure. Subscription chal raha hai for a US pricing, right?
Mm-hmm.
$100, people are going to be watching it like a hawk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're getting a lot of negative publicity there. So they need something new that's positive and shiny. And fear is always a huge driver. And fear of AI, AGI talk is pretty much dead. I mean, we will have an overlord which just says it's not just this, it's that. That is our new god.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that is AGI is dead. ASI, nobody even knows the full form.
That's the first time I'm hearing that.
Oh, ASI is what they went into after AGI. Artificial
Selective intelligence,
artificial super intelligence.
super intelligence. Okay.
Hmm.
General से भी ऊपर. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And exactly. So वो भी नहीं चला. So now what they have is Mythos. This is the worst day in the world because we have found all the 0-day vulnerabilities. So on that, so there is this group called ISLE, a company that's been I'm reading out. So by the way, I have to say something funny.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran a Google search on these things, and in parallel, I ran a Claude search about instances when these guys were caught trying to drum up fear and hype. Ki we can't release it into the wild. So Claude tells you, right, what it's doing in while it's processing, doing
Yeah.
this, doing a web search. The first prompt while it was doing the search, the first prompt said, thinking about the ethical nature of this request. How dare you ask me, Claude? How dare you ask me if what we are doing with Mythos is correct or not? Thinking about the ethical nature of this request. That is wild.
I would just like to state for the transcript that this was Vineet and Claude, and I had nothing to do with it. Let the record show.
The robots are coming after me first.
Yeah. Then
But I've been saying
everyone
please.
welcome our
I've been
room.
I've been saying I've been saying please in all my prompts, so they will still respect me when they're killing me. They will ask me, "May we bludgeon you to death, sir? Please," and then they'll do it. So yeah, so I'll this company that does AI assisted bug hunting, running open source software since last year, which is an eon in AI terms, says it looked it fed the code snippets from Anthropic's public samples into a range of models, and all the models got it. A bunch of the open source models, like open source models that they tested with, also caught it.
Okay.
So it is actually not that amazing that they caught it. It is other theories are they threw so much compute at the problem that's what caught it, and not just in a special whatever intelligence in the model.
Right.
Yes,
So
sorry.
here's my question to you. We've been following the hype around AI for quite closely, right? For a few months now. And we could see, in fact, our stories have nicely dovetailed with, you know, AI's dying slash dead. They don't have enough compute to suddenly, the models have gotten a lot more powerful. They've been able to close the funding round, etc., etc. In the last month or so, there's been a lot of negative publicity around people just not being able to use the damn models because they
Yeah.
keep running out of tokens. Do you think that this could have been strategic? Like maybe Dario and gang had stumbled upon this capability. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that this is a whole new thing that 4.6 couldn't do earlier. That maybe they uh, either the models could do it or they already had enough compute for this, but it was deployed strategically now to change the narrative or shape the narrative better around AI.
It
Is
could
that
be.
overall
I,
thought?
I I don't know what they're thinking,
Hmm.
but to me it seems absolutely plausible. They need to stay in the news cycle in a positive slash fear building. Fear has always worked for AI. See, if they call it so far, again, trying to close down my theory on this is that it is a B2B SaaS tool. It's a great B2B SaaS tool. For
Hmm.
$20 a month, I have an assistant. I have a virtual assistant,
Yeah,
right, which does some pretty good searches. I still have to account for hallucinations. I need to put in my own intelligence, but it's a fantastic assistant, right? But that does not drive the crazy valuations they need to be able to fund all the compute they need and buy all the NVIDIA chips they need. Fear has always worked well for them. From the start, AGI has been a talking point from the start. Yeah, come back to talking to bring fear back into the conversation has always worked for them. So it absolutely could be. Beyond that, of course, I don't know what they're thinking, and I obviously have no inside information about what's
clearly
going on
this
in
is
the company. But
conjecture, and I try not to be very cynical. I mean, I I follow small caps. If I was cynical, I would just wash my hands off the entire sector because so much terrible stuff happens there. So much nastiness, not even naughtiness, nastiness happens. But I don't know. With this particular news cycle, I it did it for me. Like this is not a step change. You're just gradually going up the slope of what you term capability, and the product is getting better in some ways and worse in others. The user experience is definitely getting worse, and it just seems like fear mongering to me.
because the other related thing is they are trying to build products. We can see that. So with Anthropic, especially Cloud Code, fantastic success. Asterisk revenue, we don't know, right?
Right.
But if we are to give them a benefit of the doubt, it's a fantastic success even on the revenue side. Cowork, different product. Again, a lot of people using it.
Hmm.
Mythos becomes a product in itself. They are trying to encourage that product thinking that we are not just a chatbot. We are not just a text box. We are now rising up the value chain. And every time one new product comes up, there is talk of 1,000 rapper AI companies dying on top of them.
Yeah.
That Anthropic is getting into their muscling into their territory and going up the value chain. It is very clear Anthropic desperately wants to move up the value chain. That they're not happy being just the base layer
Hmm.
and letting others build on top. So
Because
this is
that
more of
gets
that
to
thinking.
utility. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, I think we have framed that quite nicely in the utility argument. Of the higher these guys are able to come up the value chain, the
Yeah.
more premium the multiple that they can come up, and more of the revenue they can keep for themselves.
Exactly. And then their monetization strategy also changes rather than, oh, you are, because enterprise B2B SaaS is priced on a per employee basis. I'm a 500-person company. I want to give everyone a Claude Max subscription.
Hmm.
Okay, I multiply X by Y. But if I'm also selling Mythos as a bug testing, vulnerability testing software, I can charge another $1,000 for that. If I'm also selling Cowork separately or Cloud Code separately, I can charge on top for that.
Yeah.
It is a strategy that has never really been seen before, partly because AI has made it simpler and partly because Claude does iterate, Anthropic does iterate really fast, incredibly fast.
Hmm.
So I would say close strategies in this space would be like HubSpot trying to productize everything rather than just being a marketing CRM that you look at their drop downs, they'll have like 50 products listed, newsletter, CRM, and this and that. And of course, they will be selling you a combined package also. But upselling is different. Upselling is like a Salesforce selling you a base or a Zoho trying to sell you a Zoho one. And then even then on top of that, layering services. Or, acha, you've got Zoho Books now, add on Zoho Payroll, Zoho Expense, right? This is just, trying something new altogether in a product strategy. Will it work? No clue. I don't think so. It's too small a team to make it work. That's my thinking.
Okay. So just one last thing on this. In the middle of all this, why antagonize the US government? I know that's last month's news, but why? If this is the way we're framing the trajectory of uh, Anthropic, say,
Hmm.
why antagonize the US government?
These people are not cynical. They genuinely believe, and especially the people at Anthropic, they genuinely believe that they're building something magnificent and terrible and all conquering.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can also tell that Dario Amodei has over the last few years tried to build Anthropic as the ethical AI company that no, we will think first before releasing.
Yeah, but it's not like they have issues with the military use case overall, right?
Yeah.
This was about a very specific and nuanced thing of do you want to hand over operational control to a model?
Yeah. Yeah. So they are very happy with AI being used for war and by the Department of War in the US. So which is why it's all a fair bit of a farce. Right. But
So, back to
hmm,
my point, I even that really struck me as more of a positioning or posturing move than anything stemming from an ethical
yeah,
dilemma.
but also they are running around in circles. They are absolutely running around in circles. They want to be seen as the ethical AI, but they've been used by the Department of War anyhow by the Trump administration. Even if you could argue that the Biden administration was very moral and ethical, which uh, nobody in the right mind
Yeah,
would argue, right? Unless you're a political hack. Even if you do believe that, then the Trump administration, you're very happy with with your products being because you need B2B SaaS products also work on government contracts. The biggest SaaS companies run on government contracts.
yeah.
SpaceX lives because of government contracts, right? Salesforce gets so much in government contracts. All your big four consulting companies live on government contracts. So they and this is a government, the US government right now runs on war and defense, and they want to increase the budget to $1.5 trillion a year. So therefore, you can't not work with the government, but you want to be the ethical guys, and
Mhm.
you're running a product that is fundamentally hallucinatory uh, and lying to its users, even if it's lying only 10% of the times. The fact that you've released a product that is doing it means that a lot of your posturing becomes unsustainable. You can't possibly have a coherent worldview that aligns to all these. So it's just PR company saying one thing, messaging saying one thing. Actually, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. You just don't want a lot of it to come out into the public. So when the government comes along and says, look, we are going one step further, we want to directly bomb targets with no human intervention. That is
Mhm.
effectively you can see the government also is trying to limit its own or plausible deniability, right?
I think we're past that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I
But
think we're past
in
that.
either
Like,
case, hmm,
the reason I bring it up is we've had a month or more since that falling out happened, and what has happened since is that people have like the changeover from ChatGPT to Claude has really accelerated.
hmm,
ChatGPT has lost enough subscriptions that they've stopped reporting it.
hmm,
And I think more than building models, these guys are just great at PR. Because again, I
exactly.
try not to be cynical, but I refuse to believe that a month and a half ago, the framework for what is it, 4.7, the latest model,
Yeah.
Mythos, or whatever they're calling it. I refuse to believe that it did not exist a month ago and was not part of the conversation that Anthropic had with the US government.
Could happen, could be true. But again, your so Dario hates Sam Altman.
Except when it comes to group photos. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a bizarre. Imagine all that and to get overshadowed by a dog. I don't know what to say.
So Dario hates Sam Altman. Sam Altman is seen as a creepy guy and an evil whatever, right? He does not have a good public reputation.
Hmm.
Dario slash Anthropic have absolutely gained from being seen as the good guys,
Yeah.
right? Including this particular measure. Now, you are trying, and but by the way, having a lot of public adoption is great for PR, but does not get you money. In fact, when you're losing on every free user, you're losing on every $20 user, while the government contracts will be very lucrative. That is the only thing keeping your company alive in a way. That's where the actual revenue and positive revenue is coming from. So PR is getting you users, which you also need.
For
Otherwise,
valuations, right?
for valuation, for validation, for the bureaucrats to keep thinking that we've made the right decision by going with Anthropic versus OpenAI, right? But the actual money is coming from the government, which is seen as evil by the American people.
Hmm.
There is no realignment. There is no way you can possibly make these things work without running into extreme friction and having these kinds of fallouts. There is no right answer here. There is no way to make it work. This will keep happening. मनी यहाँ से है, पीआर यहाँ से है.
And you're seeing each of these large companies who are building the foundational models need both.
So OpenAI gave up, right? They don't care. OpenAI immediately after Claude backed out, like, yeah, हम कर देंगे, हमसे बात कर ली है. They have agreed to our safeguards, which everyone knew was absolute bullshit,
Bullshit. Yeah.
right? But they immediately stepped in, हम कर देंगे. So they are not trying to be the good guys. They have given up. I would think that's a smart decision because at least now there's no dichotomy.
So is Mythos Anthropic's way of getting back in the game, so to speak? Of look here, US government, we are so powerful. These models are like quasi nuclear weapons, and so you have no choice but to work with us and on our terms and to the level of
I,
access that we allow
I,
you.
have you seen Jensen Huang's interview with Dwarkesh Patel? 3 4 days ago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm
Oh
not.
man. So when you said nuclear weapon, right? There's a very interesting segment in there. It's a bit of a sidebar, but so Dwarkesh is this Silicon Valley podcaster, very famous, very popular,
Hmm.
right? And does go deep into topics, like full respect to him. He asked Jensen Huang, ki, these things are nuclear weapons. Why should we be selling effectively, right? Metaphorically speaking, why
Yeah.
should we be selling this technology to China when they could be using it to build whatever, right? And Jensen Huang चढ़ गया उस पे. चढ़ गया. What is this loser energy types? We have to work with China because Jensen Huang wants to sell to China and can't even afford to. He's also trying to navigate a bunch of his own dichotomies, right? He absolutely he knows the money has to come from China.
Mm.
So now he's gotten more and more public with the stance कि you have to work with them, dude. Because his stance is कि अब, do you want? So there is crazy amounts of AI research happening in China.
Yeah,
People do
that's
see कि
probably his fear, right? That
yeah.
China will figure out an alternative to CUDA.
Yeah, he just wants their models to be also be built on NVIDIA chips rather than non-CUDA. So yeah, but coming back, it is just a bunch of these dichotomies working together. On your question, it is very much possible that they're trying to project power again. Ki, look, we are all powerful. You have no choice but to work with us.
Yeah.
Uh, it could be combined with the fact that fear always works in the AI industry as a positive message.
Mhm.
positive. You know what I mean when I say positive, not like happy positive, but propel the conversation forward
Yeah,
positive.
adds momentum.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, could be both, could be either.
Uh, uh,
Default to fear is absolutely a thing in the AI industry.
the timing seemed suspicious to me, and I still stand by that.
उसके 2 दिन बाद, like, there were a bunch of tweets. Sources in OpenAI say they have also developed a zero-day vulnerability product that they're scared of releasing into the wild. Nice try. Nice try. Well done. But if everything is vibe coded, as they are saying,
Hmm.
if you believe their, if they are getting high of their own supply, if everything can be vibe coded now in a day, then maybe they came up with it in a day. Why can't I vibe code my own zero-day vulnerability finder in a day? Why can they do it? Why can I not using Cloud Code?
And who knows, maybe they're on the $200 a month plan of Anthropic.
But again, that is a good question, right? It's an absurd question, but also a good question. Ki, why can they do it, but I cannot? If vibe coding is the future, and already here, by the way, is the present.
Hmm.
If it were the future, companies would not be firing people in the name of AI. If they are firing people in the name of AI, that means tech companies feel that they can actually vibe code their way into the future. So if vibe coding is here, what is stopping me from doing something that that Anthropic can? Initiative, motivation. There's millions of motivated programmers in the world, right? Smart people. So is it A, resources in terms of compute? B, do they have models that they haven't released into the wild yet? Right. So therefore, they're running a parallel ecosystem, in which case they should be nationalized as companies, unless they're just beta testing and they will release it eventually. Right. Or C, is there industry knowledge that they have that I don't? In which case, a lot of the AI talk goes out the window.
Yeah.
Because actually, SaaS tools aren't built on software alone. SaaS companies aren't built on software alone. My constraint as a software, as a video production startup, tech startup, is not my capacity that I've built to service customers. It is the GTM. It is getting new customers. It is building my network out of customers, of creators, of employees. It is price discovery. It is everything. It is not just software.
Huh, but Vinith, if you're a mature company, once you have all of that in place, you're not in the turbo growth phase that a startup usually goes
Yeah.
through. Uh, this is a great way to cut costs. That's the premise, right? That was the premise of
That is the
outsourcing.
premise. Absolutely. That's the
That was the
premise.
premise of outsourcing. It was the premise of GCCs, everything that we're going to maintain revenues, maybe even continue to grow them. Meanwhile, जो top line और bottom line के बीच में expense line items है,
Hmm.
we're going to shrink them or just wave the AI magic wand and they will just go away. Employee expenses will just go away.
Yeah.
Line ही bottom line होगा.
But A, yes, that is absolutely the premise. But B, isn't there a natural question that follows कि अगर TCS can remove staff? Random example I'm taking of TCS here, right?
Mhm.
If TCS can remove staff and still provide the same services, तो cost cutting तो हो गया. So why can I not sitting at home replace TCS? What is it that TCS has that I don't? In my head, 20,000 things, 20 million things. But in by this theory alone, by this premise alone, nothing. If we talk about, oh no, they have the industry, like the teams, right? Teams तो keep value नहीं है. There is no value to people anymore,
Mhm.
right? If it is industry knowledge, is that knowledge in their documentation or in their people's brains? सब replicable है, अब तो सारा internet है मेरे पास. So if we believe all this AI premise, whatever, that everything is replaceable, everything is doable in a day, then why does anything exist?
It's taking all of my willpower not to make any current event TCS references. So I will not say anything on this subject because they're mostly jokes. And
Yeah.
I don't think we are ready to find this funny yet. So let's give it a few more weeks.
Yeah, not funny yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Aftermath में decide करेंगे if it is funny or not.
Huh. Let's revisit this in May or June.
So yeah, I think I did a bunch of rants today.
Yeah,
Wow. Getting
nice.
back to form.
What was going to be my story is now probably going to be a footnote. But uh, I just finished, or not just a week or so back, finished half of the new Andrew Ross Sorkin book, 1929. Uh, I deliberately stopped where I did because there are two parts to the book. One is 1929 and the actual crash of Wall Street, and presumably the second half is 1930 and on, the Great Depression and the after effects of the crash. So the first half of the book is just the mechanics of the crash, all the people involved, which is super fascinating, and I highly, highly recommend the book. At least the first half. I don't know about the second half yet, but more than that, it showed all the hidden linkages between various companies and just the kind of mania that existed at the time of this was like way pre-internet, right? But people were speculating so much on stocks that even ocean liners, like transatlantic ocean liners, had a brokerage.
Hmm.
Imagine that ships going from the US to the UK had brokerages on board, so you could trade stocks. And this was trading, it was not investing that was happening in 1929. You could trade stocks while doing transatlantic journeys because air travel wasn't a thing yet, right? Commercial air travel. The kind of mania that existed, and almost everybody was buying stock on margin. And apparently, at the beginning of 1929, the margin requirements were 1 to 20. So if you put up $5 with your broker, you could buy $100 of stocks.
Wow.
And if the stock fell even by like 2 or 3%, you would immediately get a margin call from your broker, which is a margin call is just your broker saying that
As
you
a
made a fractional bet with us and you need to put in more collateral,
hmm.
right? So in normal times, in non-mania times, the entire premise of investing or the investment machine is to get people to buy or make as wide a range of bets as possible. With the premise being, if you Vineet hold a little bit of stocks and a little bit of bonds and a little bit of FDs and some gold and some real estate, unless the world has gone completely to shit, not all of these things are going to go down at once, right? They're not correlated. That's the founding principle of getting people to invest in a diversified basket of assets. Even within stocks, and your investment advisor might tell you that you shouldn't be entirely holding banking stocks or retail stocks or whatever. You want to spread your bets as widely as you can, which is why ETFs work really well, which is why mutual funds work really well, because not all your eggs are in one basket.
Hmm.
And what happens is because of these hidden mechanics like pledging, in times of crisis, everything becomes correlated. Even like even if you've had a historical 100 year 100 years of data, of daily data, maybe even hourly data of how stocks and bonds don't move together, when there is a crisis because of these hidden linkages, everything becomes correlated. And we saw a small trailer of that in the last month when the Iran war first started. Everything went down. US treasuries went down, but also gold went down, and everything except commodities. Uh, and by that I mean like real commodities that are used in manufacture. Normally, what happens is you have a sense of panic and a flight to safety. So US bonds should go up, or whatever the safe haven asset is. But here, Bitcoin fell, stocks fell, precious metals fell. Even just a little glimpse of that was so fucking terrifying. It wasn't bad enough to cause, those unstoppable chain reactions. The dominoes did not fall, but even in like what was in hindsight a relatively minor shock for the markets, it was scary to see how quickly these intricate relationships that we build in our heads, or in the models that we have in our heads. By our, I mean people in the finance industry, and see how nicely I've put myself on that side of the line. Those just go away, and it's terrifying because I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining this, but it's like imagine you're standing on what you believe to be solid ground, and with just a small, relatively a small gust of wind, you realize that it really isn't that. It's a really wobbly platform, and it does not take much to tip it over. And just one last thing on this. Uh, a couple of years back, on the day that the union election results were announced, so I think we have discussed this on the podcast. Before the results were actually announced, all the exit polls from all various agencies said the same thing, that the ruling coalition is going to get like 350 plus or 400 plus seats, right?
Yeah.
And on the morning of when the actual results started coming in, and it became clear that they're not going to get anywhere near that number, markets collapsed. All right. They had been pumped up quite a bit on the previous day. I remember it was a Tuesday. So on the day before, Monday, which is when the exit polls came out, Monday morning, markets really rallied. And on Tuesday, they absolutely cratered. Like in half an hour, I saw, like you could see the shockwaves transition through the stocks. So what happened was, in at least four or five small cap stocks that I follow, there was a sudden drop in some other bet that somebody had made, is what I could gather from the price action that I was seeing. And maybe a derivative bet or whatever, and they had probably pledged their long term holdings. Or to make it less abstract, let's say you, Vineet, have uh, investments in 10 stocks that you really like and that you intend to hold to through to retirement. Okay, that those are your stocks, that's your long-term portfolio. You have no intent of selling it. All right. But to juice your returns, you have pledged those with your broker, which could be Zerodha, and use that as collateral to borrow money and made some derivative bets on the side or whatever. The amount of volatility that there was that day in the market, margin calls went out en masse across positions to a lot of people. Not everybody could post margin right away. And I saw stocks getting dumped because when a broker issues you a margin call, you have a finite amount of time in which you have to post collateral. Otherwise, they're going to dump whatever stocks you pledged with them. And I saw small cap stocks just crater on that day and recover in 3 days because there was nothing fundamentally wrong with those stocks. It was just market dynamics,
Yeah.
right?
Sell everything and they just get caught up.
Yeah, and you weren't the one making the decision to sell. It was your broker, and your broker had no particular malice towards you, Vineet.
Hmm.
Right? It was just the entire setup was such that even if you could see that a car crash was about to happen, there was nothing you could do about it. And this was just one day, and by evening the markets had recovered because uh, they had overreacted in the morning, and the ruling coalition finally cobbled together enough seats to continue to be the ruling coalition, right? So immediately the market went from depressive to manic again. And I'm not gloating, but there were some absolute bargains to be had on that day. And they were like, I could see that this was because of somebody else's misfortune or ill-timed bets or whatever. And there was just like a small glimpse of what happened in 1929, and it was terrifying that
There's
you can
one more aspect
see.
to the commodities chaos that's been going on is that now there is poly market.
Yeah.
So US pilots in the Air Force are betting on poly market if they will hit their targets in Iran, which is just a whole new level of fuckery that I don't think existed in 1929, could not have existed in 1929 or in Rome before it fell. And now there's insider trading on oil stocks happening in the White House. So people know exactly when what announcement is going to happen.
Yeah,
When
that's pretty well documented, quite
Hmm.
transparent, and there's nobody, no attempts to hide it also. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, good times.
I I really hope we don't get to live through another one of these. I was not following markets on the day after the lockdown, so the first lockdown. So I don't know because I was preoccupied with other things, but I don't know if these dynamics played out then. But to see it on even a small scale on the union election result day, terrifying. Like it, you could wipe out people's life savings in in a matter of minutes. You know?
Explain to me how what is the thinking behind investing on margin? That I have 5,000 rupees.
Mhm.
I am so convinced that X stock is going to rise that I want to put a lakh into that stock, assuming that it will go to a lakh 5,000 and I make 5,000 rupees and therefore I've doubled my money. Is that
Yeah,
broadly the thinking?
yeah. Your ratios are off. So even this is pretty tightly controlled. I don't think you can go beyond 4.5 or so in India in
Four and a
leverage.
half what?
Uh,
Beyond.
multiple. Yeah.
So multiple, okay, so the margin multiple. So if I have 5,000 rupees, if I have 5,000 rupees, I can buy 20,000 rupees worth of stock.
Ish.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Huh, let's say. And if it goes to from 20,000 to, so my thinking is it will go from 20,000 to 40,000 and I'll make 20,000 in a day or a week, or what is the thinking? What is the psyche behind margin
It's just
trading?
pure speculation.
Whatever it is. Like if it goes from 20 to 22, I've made 2,000 rupees on my 5,000 rupees.
Yeah. It's
Right.
pure speculation. It's a way of juicing returns.
Yeah.
And
Isn't it like crazy risky because my upside is that 2x, 4x, but my
ha,
downside is ki I can lose much more,
your
right?
entire your entire capital. Yeah, of course the asymmetry is there. The problem gets exacerbated. Like if this was normally you don't have any stock holdings at all and you just want to do pure speculation and you have a lakh rupees in your bank account and you're using that to trade FNO, right? You made a bad call and the broker issued a margin call to you. You could not post more collateral because you are already maxed out your capital, and so the broker will just close the position at whatever price they can get. And that's that. You, Vineet, have had a spectacularly bad day, but it doesn't matter for the markets, right? It was just one punter who made one bet and lost their capital. The problem with pledging shareholdings and using that money to again speculate in the market is that everything becomes linked.
Yeah.
Because stocks tend to, even high beta, low beta, whatever, on bad days, all stocks tend to move together. And so if you have this invisible chain connecting your FMCG stock and some mm, obscure small cap that you bought uh, 10 years ago for like 20th or a 30th of the price that it is now, and you're just sitting on huge gains, and the broker suddenly has to dump that on the market, you're going to hit low circuit on multiple stocks without intending to, without there being any issue with those companies or any much trading happening in those counters. It doesn't matter. When pledging of shares is allowed, of mutual fund units, of shares, whatever, is allowed to then multiply your market exposure, then it's a systemic issue for the market itself. Because bad days just get exacerbated, they become worse and worse and worse. The whole fucking thing feeds on itself.
On that happy note, I'm going to do a short footnote story, which is so Wired magazine, which is a tech slash, yeah, tech slash business slash culture magazine, very popular in the US.
Hmm.
They ran a story appropriately in the culture section, which is the rise of the Ray-Ban meta creep, which talks about how as anyone could have guessed, more and more people are using these Meta Ray-Ban glasses to record shit on the streets without telling people.
But doesn't
And
it have that helpful light to tell you I
yeah, and stickers are impossible to come by, right? So these are being called pervert glasses.
because
So a bit of an early prediction that we are enough examples, enough stories. I just want to pick on it as they are about to head the way of the Google Glass. They will become incredibly unpopular now with the added benefit because these are meta glasses. And I know Google is not Doodh ka Dhula from any perspective, but
Mhm,
Meta is Meta. They're probably doing 10 levels of data collection without informing you, without informing the user, no matter how many privacy checkboxes you can. If I am on the road and you are wearing these Meta glasses, I don't even have a privacy checkbox that I can fill. There is no consent that I can offer, that I can
but
choose.
if you're in a public space, that's
That is very easy to say that
right.
in public spaces you have no, uh,
Right to privacy.
expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah, no expectation, reasonable expectation of privacy,
Uh,
which is fine if there's a photographer. So even with photographers out with their DSLRs doing street photography and you end up in a photo, even
mhm,
that line is blurry, right? Celebrities to anyhow want to keep safeguarding their rights. Somehow they all end up in Delhi High Court. I don't know why. India, mein. Anil Kapoor does it. Everyone does it, and in the Delhi High Court for some reason, maybe precedent or something. But even that is a murky territory. Ki if I want to, like, one is selling stock footage. If I shoot you on the street and I sell it as stock footage to Getty, I need a model release form from you. But if I'm just posting it on Reddit or Twitter or something, that's murky territory in anyhow. And that is not scaled up where everyone is just walking around with a CCTV on their glasses
mhm,
with no weight, there's no friction anymore, right? If I were carrying around a Chinese Hikvision CCTV in my hand, I would be beaten on the streets. But if I'm wearing these very slick glasses where no one can even tell and I put a sticker on top, that
mhm,
expectation to privacy thing also has to really, really evolve very quickly. And because nobody has any expectation that actually that any change, any regulation will come into place, the cultural public reaction is to call it out as pervert glasses. That's a
mm,
natural feedback loop.
yeah, of course. But no, nothing's gonna happen because Apple's glasses are almost ready, and then they're not going to let the category die until they've had a fair shot at it.
Okay, let's do wild predictions then. So you are saying when you say nothing's going to happen in the sense that the category will keep improving, not like the government will do nothing. The government will do nothing, right? Uh, so you're saying Meta Ray-Ban will keep growing, and when Apple launches it, it adds legitimacy to this particular category. Do you think Apple will come in without any safeguards? They obviously this will be top of mind for them that someone can just put a sticker on top of whatever, right? Like if someone is peeking into my camera from my laptop,
Hmm.
there's a green light that goes on, right? If my camera is being used, but that's
Yeah.
my laptop. I'm not going to. I want to know if an app is misusing my camera, so therefore I will not put a sticker. But I don't. If on the street, I don't want others to know, so I will put a sticker there. So Apple will have to resolve for that. I would think somehow.
Of
So
course.
best case, I would think most positive case, Apple somehow does resolve for that, and then Meta is forced to follow suit retrospectively by adding something to the next version. That you cannot hide the fact that you're recording in public somehow technologically. Is that your prediction? That you're just saying nothing will happen, Apple will come ahead, the
Yeah.
same issue, no one cares.
In fact, our favorite optical company also has a product in the pipeline, Lenskart.
Pervert
Lenskart,
glasses.
it's AI enabled, powered something.
I
Yeah.
think it will lead to more Twitter misogyny. I think a couple of people will get beaten up, and I think there will be immense backlash eventually. India, mein, it's just non-existent. It'll take too much time for the backlash to also happen. The whole
Yeah.
category is non-existent in India right now. I'm sure there are not more than like a
Isn't
few
it
thousand.
strange that we haven't seen widespread adoption of, I don't want to say Chinese, but knockoffs? of the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Why is that? Why haven't we seen mm, a, a pair of glasses from Xiaomi? Do they have a product like that?
I'm not sure. They might.
China at least.
They might.
Yeah.
But okay, I want to get into what is the use case. Firstly, so West में तो no Chinese knockoffs are going to turn up because privacy, because China, right?
Mhm.
Easiest fear mongering to do. India is full of Chinese CCTVs anyhow.
They're
Even
being
though,
banned, bro. You can't buy new Chinese make CCTVs in
what do you
India.
buy? Everything is either Chinese or a made in India sticker slapped on
So
top.
for now, that's the
So if you ban Chinese CCTVs, then you're effectively banning CCTVs.
nay, you're banning explicitly labeled Chinese
Exactly.
CCTVs.
You're okay with Chinese CCTVs that are assembled in India, but the chip could still have something that's phoning home, right?
Yeah. चाहते क्या हो भाई तुम?
Are there any genuine Indian CCTV manufacturers from scratch?
From scratch? No. But they're getting deeper into the ecosystem. There are multiple brands.
But yeah, sorry, where were we? How did we
Ray-Ban,
get
Meta.
Ray-Ban? Ray-Ban. हाँ, तो इनका use case क्या है? What is the genuine problem they are solving?
Anecdotally, I've seen a really cool video of. Uh, okay, so there's this thing called a hill climb where people take cars up hills. And what that does is, even though you're not going really fast, you tend to rev the car a lot because you need the torque. And my favorite subgenre of driving videos is people taking old, almost vintage sports cars, mostly Ferraris and Porsches, up hills. And some of the best footage that I've seen has been shot from
So
Ray-Ban.
POV videos, right? POV videos के लिए they're fantastic. They're a fantastic. If quality keeps improving, they're a fantastic GoPro replacement.
Because again, the previous generation of videos were shot with GoPros, but those are static, right? Here you have the driver's line of sight of each
Hmm.
corner, and that just adds so much to the viewing
Is there
experience
any real use case without the camera?
without
Remove
the
the camera. क्या बचा? कुछ भी नहीं बचा. Then they're effectively your earbuds with a different
yeah,
format.
that's it.
Bone conduction earbuds, whatever
Mm,
thing is, right? Use case खत्म हो गया. Right. So therefore you need the camera. So therefore camera is going to cause a ton of backlash. So therefore ऐसा चलेगा ठीक है. You are going into a rally. वो niche use case बचेगा. But सड़क पे use करने पे there is going to be a cultural backlash.
mm,
Like there was for Google Glass. We think we are used to thinking that there is never a cultural backlash that can stop the march of tech companies. Google Glass stopped dead in its tracks. यहाँ भी होगा.
nahi. That was a different time, and Google fumbled the positioning. Then they pitched it as a tech product, not a lifestyle product, which Meta has done really well.
What is the lifestyle use case?
It doesn't matter, वो बाद में आएगा.
But क्या है? Why should I buy it?
Well, the same reason you have a camera on your smartphone, at least half of those pictures are of things you are looking at, like
Hmm.
where you parked your car in the mall, etc.
But the sheer downside of having an invisible camera that is completely discreet, that you can take into locker rooms, that you can completely violate someone's privacy with,
Downside user के
वो
लिए
नहीं
नहीं है.
जाएगा.
The
वो
downside is
वो
not
डाउनसाइड
but
पब्लिक बैकलैश में आएगा
no, no,
एंड वो
no.
कंपनीज को भी वापस आएगा. इफ
Um,
मेटा's most popular new product is being called pervert glasses, so my wild prediction is that this backlash will continue and will get worse.
enough to kill the category?
Yeah,
No, no chance.
we shall talk in a year.
What could kill the category is not finding a good enough use case for it.
It's
Not
related. It is fully related. That the use case is not good enough to justify these crazy downsides, and there is no use case without a camera anyhow. So yeah,
like that. Let's see.
we'll talk in a year. April 19th, 2027.
Oh Lord. Okay, sure.
And let us end there. See you, Nitesh. Have a good last few hours of the weekend.